All right, now we have a game where it's take the dog or leave the dog. Which underdogs are you betting on week one? We got the Jags at Colts. Jags laying 3.5. Take the dog, leave the dog. RJ White.
A lot of people are going to want to take the dog because it's 3.5 and they see, oh, I get the hook. I want to take that with the field goal. I am leaving it completely. I think this line should be 5. I think Indianapolis, I have them as my 29th ranked team right now in the power ratings to start the season. Quarterback figures to be an issue early unless Anthony Richardson severely exceeds expectations out the gate. I'm not going to rule that out. Athletic as hell, could probably do it, but I might need to be coached up some. And maybe this is a Gardner Minshew game. And if it's a Gardner Minshew game, I certainly want the Jaguars at minus 3.5. So if the Jaguars are as good as the market thinks they are, that Indy assessment for me makes this line too light. But if Richardson builds buzz through training camp and preseason, he's the next coming for them. This line will come down. So you'll be glad you took the Colts at plus 3.5 of that sense. So I can understand both sides of the argument. I just think Jaguars are too good here, and it should be a little bit higher.
I kind of think the Colts win this game, but I agree with you completely. Like, I had the Jaguars as much better than the Colts. It's just sort of like the inverse of what happened with Indy the last couple of, since 2014. They just can't go to Jacksonville and win football games at all for some reason. It does feel like I think there's a case. I mean, I could just see a situation where the Jaguars lose to Indy in week 1 and then beat the Chiefs, and people are like, what the hell? Football is weird. That being said, yeah, I mean, I think RJ's spot on. If you believe that Gardner Minshew is going to start, then I will change my mind about that game. I think Anthony Richardson provides sort of the undercover, Trojan horse style attack with the Shane Steichen offense, where you don't know what you're going to get from him. They're not going to show you a ton in training camp. They're not going to show you a ton in the preseason. Sort of thinking back to RG3 a little bit, maybe in 2012, excuse me. And then in 2022, Jalen Hurts takes a step. There's just sometimes you just don't you can just sort of cover up what you're going to drop on an offense. And I think we could see that with Richardson. If it's Minshew, the line moves up, and I would love the Jaguars. So I think it's, to RJ's point, you sort of have to kind of track the quarterback battle and plant your flag in one of those spots here.
After this game, Indy goes on the road twice, at Houston, at Baltimore, then 4 of their next 5 games at home, starting with Rams and Tennessee. I think that's a perfect time to debut Anthony Richardson, get him under center.
All right, moving on. The Titans at Saints. Saints minus 3.5. Take the dog, leave the dog, RJ.
This is one where I'm taking. I think it opened 1.5 and everybody steamed toward the Saints, and I get it, but getting on the other side of 3.5, I think is too much for me. This is still a Ryan Tannehill team. I don't think he's going to get traded, and all indications are he's going to be the starter there. Even if it is Will Levis, I think it's him beating out Ryan Tannehill for the job, and then they figure out what to do with Ryan Tannehill after that, which is a good sign for Levis, and they still have Derrick Henry. And against this defense, the Saints defense, that has issues in the middle. That's why they went and got Brian Brisset in the first round, and I don't know that he's the type of player that's going to necessarily fix things all by himself. I think that you can attack them with Derrick Henry at running back and keep this game close, and too much respect for Mike Vrabel. If he's getting more than 3 points in a game, I'm probably going to want to take the Titans in that game. So I do have the Saints at 1.5 points better than on a neutral field. But if you flip the ratings for these teams and made the Titans 1.5 points better by the end of the season, it wouldn't shock me that much considering the coach. So I think there's value here on the Titans.
I had the Titans winning this game outright. Think it's a good look. That plus 162 on the money line. Under is probably a pretty good look too, with the way that these two teams coach and the way that they play. The Derek Carr hype, I get it. I'm not trying to poo-poo Derek Carr. I just think it's a little bit overblown. And you better believe that Mike Vrabel is hearing everybody talk about how the Titans are toast and how the Titans can't do much. I mean, they've still got they're not a great team. The offensive line has fallen apart. You have major questions at the skill positions in terms of who's going to be catching the football, but they still got Derrick Henry. They still got Ryan Tannehill. They still got Mike Vrabel, and they still have a decent defense. Shouldn't surprise anybody when this team is just gutting out 16-13 victories or 13-10 wins in week 5, and all of a sudden they're 4-1, and people are wondering what is Tennessee good? What the hell is happening? I would absolutely take the dog in this spot.
Okay, the Patriots are 4.5-point home dogs against the Eagles. And look, Eagles obviously had a great draft, had a pretty good offseason. Patriots did not, but the Patriots will be honoring Tom Brady at this game. So there's a lot of good juju in the building. Take the dog, leave the dog.
Yeah, it's back to 5 here. I mean, it's been 4.5 at some places, 5 at some places. I was a little surprised that when it was 5, it moved down to 4.5 because I figured everybody would want to be on the Eagles after that draft, and they would be the narrative. And I think I'm probably the high person on the Patriots. I think upgrading from that dynamic duo of Matt Patricia to Bill O'Brien is one of the biggest upgrades you're going to see, similar to what Brian Daboll did in taking over for Joe Judge in New York. And he's going to know how to run an offense here. And I think that he can he'll help make the Patriots offense competitive. Mac Jones did some good things in his first year, very efficient throwing the ball downfield. They were gone last year because they just did not have any idea what they were doing on offense. So I think they can come out, surprise the Eagles a little bit, make this a closer game than people think. My power ratings would put the line at -5. So I think it's a line that makes sense. But like I said, I'm high on the Patriots. I think the value is going to be on New England in week 1, catching 5 points.
Yeah, give me the dog to win the game again. Woo! Patriots beat the Eagles. I've actually here's a hot take for you, like just pure. It's not even really trolling because I actually have the Patriots within 1. I think the Patriots win as many games as the Eagles do this year.
Oh,
how about that? How you like them apples? This is a prime sell high, buy low situation. Nobody wants to be on the Patriots. The Patriots win total is 7.5. 7.5 for a Bill Belichick team. I think that they're going to go over. I don't think it's going to be easy. Maybe you see a little something like Tennessee where this defense is really good. You have a Belichick situation where I'm always drinking on the pod. No, I'm not. I should like some water right now. Look, Belichick has a lengthy amount of time to prepare. You have a Eagles team that lost its offensive coordinator, lost its defensive coordinator. You have a ton. Like, people don't understand. I mean, people don't bake that in enough. Like, you think about the Bills last year and how, with Dable leaving and Dorsey in, like, there's some, you can come out of the gates hot, but there's some transition that you have to overcome when you make these big changes. There's some personnel misses. The Patriots are largely the same, except for that massive upgrade from Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to Bill O'Brien. It can't be overstated. And I think the Patriots win this game. And, the Eagles are going to be coming in a little, they're excited for the season, obviously, but their schedule is 32nd in terms of, it's the hardest strength of schedule in the league, as John Brees noted, that versus last year having the easiest. Everybody's going to be on the Eagles here. Give me the Pats to win.
Oh, I like that take here. Okay, so 2 quarterbacks that know each other very well. Jimmy Garoppolo, a 3.5-point dog versus Russ Wilson in Raiders at Broncos. Russell Wilson obviously coming off of career worst in completion percentage, passing touchdowns, passer ratings, you name it. Jimmy Garoppolo back with his old coach there. How do you see this one going, RJ?
Yeah, I have my power rating, just have it at 3.5 as it is the correct line. And I saw one sports book operator commenting and saying that they were waffling between 3 and 5 for this game. They landed on 3.5, which tells me there might be a little bit more baked in to go a little bit higher here. Again, talking about coaching upgrade, Sean Payton's just a massive upgrade on the operation based on what they had last year. And it is possible that the Broncos are the team the market thought they were last offseason, where they had the Jets type of helium, and they don't have that this year. The Denver also has a big home field advantage early in the season. I mean, This is weeks 1 and 2. You want to play them. And especially if my ratings say that 3.5 is the right line for any week of the season, a week 8, week 9, I want to be on that 3.5 side if Broncos are at home. So I initially projected the spread would grow when it was on the key number of 3 Thursday night at some places. And it's got the hook now. If it moves back again, if it moves again, it might be back to 3. And then I would look to back Denver. So I'm waiting on this one, hoping to get a 3 at some point.
Yeah, I love Denver too. RJ points out the home field advantage enormous in Mile High or whatever, Invesco or whatever it is now. Early in the season, the Raiders are situated fairly closely from a geographical standpoint, but you just can't adjust to it. It is a legitimate big deal. The Broncos will have been training there, working out their preseason there. It's just a very hard adjustment, and the Sean Payton stuff is huge. Like he has, he is working for this new ownership. He has. Like, if Russell Wilson has a great first game against a Raiders defense that, has Max Crosby, was fairly toothless with Chandler Jones, and we don't think necessarily he's going to be great in 2023, and Russ has an awesome first game, people are going to be talking about, oh my God, the Broncos, of course Russ is a franchise quarterback. Yes. He just needed Sean Payton, and it just feels very obvious that's where the narrative's heading. I think Denver rolls in this one.
Ooh, not good news for my Jimmy Garoppolo. I will say, Jaime in the chat says, Will Brinson is officially not allowed on the Eagles train in 2023. And I will say, the one person who's not going to be on, except for me, is Will Brinson.
Yeah.
He's probably never getting on the Eagles.
I was on the Eagles bandwagon before anybody else last year. I was the first one on the bandwagon. I mean, not like Eagles honks and, like Debo, Billy, et cetera, but like legitimately on the Eagles, picked him to make the Super Bowl during the draft last year. And this year, it's just an obvious sell high situation for Philly. And I'm not rooting against them, but I just don't think they're going to be nearly as good.
I just think the listeners are relieved they're not going to have to hear about it every week from you about how great you were for calling the Eagles, rise to power. That's now put in the past. He's officially saying that they're going to lose week 1 to the Patriots. So we can stop saying that.
You want to know who
the Brinson model has spoken?
Who do you think my obnoxious? I'm on them as they got better, and I won't stop talking about a team is going to be for 2023. That could be its own show.
The Jags.
Yeah, it could be anyone. It could be the Broncos we just talked about. I don't think it's going to be the Lions. I don't know. I would say the Patriots, based on what you just said about them beating the Eagles, is an option. So maybe one of those teams, maybe the Ravens with Lamar back. I don't know. You'll have to tell me.
Might be a bird. Might be a bird involved.
The Arizona Cardinals, I should have guessed.
The Atlanta Falcons, actually. Maybe let's do this.
10 wins. That makes sense.
Let's do this as its own show one day during the offseason where we narrow it down and then we reveal it like Bachelorette style.
Yes, I love that. Okay, one last game to look at. The 49ers are laying 3 in Pittsburgh. This total 41.5. To me, this feels like a stay away game until you know who the quarterback is going to be for San Francisco. But would you take the dog? Steelers +3 here, RJ?
I would. My ratings have it 2.5, and that's assuming that the quarterback situation is going to be fine, which we obviously don't know at this point. So I think there's a lot more downside baked in for the Niners on this line. I think the Steelers are on the rise. Kenny Pickett in year 2, he probably is going to make some progress. They were able to address some of their issues in the draft. So I have the 49ers rated as if they'll have whoever their quarterback 1 is for this game, whether it's Brock Purdy or Trey Lance. And even then, I think there's slight value on Pittsburgh. So I want to take Pittsburgh +3. I'm not sure if the market gives me any better. Maybe if we do get positive news from the Niners, it grows and we can get a +4 at some point. But I'm going to probably be on the Steelers either way.
RJ, at what point are you going to reveal your Trey Lance? Brock Purdy's 45 to 1 to win MVP. What's Trey Lance? I'm trying to find Trey Lance right now because I was doing some best ball drafts on Sunday night on DraftKings. I just had long story. I just dove in them, and I was stunned by how late you can get Trey Lance with your last one of your last 3 or 4 picks of the draft. And I mean, last year he got down to 35 to 1 to win MVP before the season. It's pretty crazy. I assume it's something like 500 to 1 at this point because everyone expects, Katie, that
he's going to be moved at some point. Yeah.
Or that Brock Purdy will be the starter. I think Lance is a great buy low opportunity.
Oh, okay.
Depends on where he's playing. Yeah. If he gets traded and Brock Purdy's the guy, then who knows what his situation is going to be. So I wouldn't play him now. The reason I was on him last year was because of the Kyle Shanahan thing, and they invested so much to go get him and trusting in Kyle Shanahan's vision. If he gets traded to some random place and he's, who knows what that offensive coordinator vision is going to be. So I wouldn't play him. The problem with who's going to be that guy, you typically look for a year 2 quarterback, and the quarterbacks last year weren't great. So maybe it's Kenny Pickett. I don't think he feels like an MVP level quarterback. If the Atlanta wins 10 games, maybe it's Desmond Ridder, and that's their super long shot play to take. So we'll see. I think you're probably going to go outside the mold of those type of guys, though.
Katie's, I don't even know what that sound or noise, what that was, but I was like, I think Trey Lance is a good buy low, and you're like, oh, that's so cute.
It is cute because look, Trey Lance might
very dismissive.
Because I think Brock Purdy is going to be the starter. I think Trey Lance will start a couple games until Brock Purdy is ready. Then Brock Purdy is going to come in. And so I don't think there's any chance of that happening. Although if we want to talk about what would be the most insufferable win you could possibly have, it would be you saying right now Trey Lance is the MVP and that ends up happening. We probably would never hear the end of that.
Well, the interesting thing.
Now look, RJ, by the way, nailed Patrick Mahomes 75 to 1 to win MVP in 2017.
55,
so
yeah.
55 there, but yeah.